ever since our government that's taking power right now has taken over, there's no protecting anybody here. We are living in the front lines of a battle. This isn't the world it used to be.
I think it is the people coming this country because this country is for everyone. Es con los inmigrantes.
We just want to see what is going on here in Eagle Pass.
Okay, good.
Okay.
These people that come from over there, I mean, it's kind of tough, you know. It's poor countries, you know. They don't get a little bit better life, you know. You can blame them, man. They're humans like everybody else.
Anything you want people to know about Eagle Pass and what's going on here?
Oh, it's a very pretty city, you know. Especially Villa Negra, that's very nice, man, you know.
Yeah, you think there's a lot of misconceptions that the news is, you know, deceiving this place is highly dangerous and all that?
No, you're not. Wait, maybe way down South Mexico. Maybe, I don't know.
The federal government does not want the militarized border. Border patrolmen were getting overwhelmed with the migrants coming in. A lot of these migrants were not even being vetted correctly. I mean, you were coming in as you were coming in. They were taking your name down, where you were headed, and basically that was about it. No fingerprinting, no anything else, and I believe they were just taking a picture of you or something like that. The governor kept on saying you need to close the border and stop the migration completely. That's where they go back and forth. One wants to keep it open, the other one wants to keep it shut down. I'm not gonna get too political on this, but I will tell you, you know, each agency has their marching orders and they do what they have to do. If the Texas governor tells his National Guard, his guardsmen, or his DPS men to do a job, that's a marching order, and they have to go about it. Right now, with all of this that's going on, you know, we hear about Border Patrol against DPS and National Guard, and they're fighting each other. Well, that's not really true. They've got different orders. The president has an order for Border Patrol. The governor has an order for the Guard. Not same orders, so they conflict. But that doesn't mean that they're enemies and that they're fighting each other. You go out to the river and you'll see both of them working on a patient, doing CPR or treating a patient out there, or trying to save somebody from the river. And they're working in unison. So it's not like I mentioned before, sometimes the media kind of puts a little bit of juice in it so, you know, people can start saying, oh, they're fighting. No. Conflicting orders, basically that's what it is. When you talk about the Shelby Park and that they completely took over, you know, kind of sounds like a dictatorship, you know. We took over the. They didn't do that. At one point, they talked to the mayor, and they said what their intentions were. They've never told us we're not allowed to go in there. We can go out to the Shelby Park whenever we want. They just keep it secure. Even if there's festivities, they've always said, you know, we'll try to accommodate you guys in here, but we need to keep this border safe. Why downtown? Why in this area? Well, one of the reasons is this is where it was happening. The epicenter was right there. I mean, we were getting thousands of people every single day. It wasn't 12 miles north, it wasn't 12 miles south, it was right here. So that's where they were at. One of the things that I feel safe about all this, the downtown area. When they would cross, they would go straight to the downtown area. There were smugglers already parked out there, ready to pick people up. There were stash houses in those neighborhoods. But that never came out on the media. But that's where they were. And the law enforcement that's down there curtailed all that.
Don't mention my name, don't mention where I'm at. I've just gotta protect the ranch.
So what do you think the government should do to take care of the situation?
Shut the border. Stop this. And if you come to this country and you honestly do not have a legitimate screaming reason why you're here, go home. It's not fair. The needs that should be going to the people that are in need are not going to the people in need. It's going to illegal people that really shouldn't technically be receiving what they're receiving. Our federal government does not like the United States people. And it's just where it's at. The illegals coming across are horrendous. And we've had friends of ours beat up and raped and molested and their homes destroyed. It's horrible here. The cartel isn't just on the border. I'll guarantee you they're in every state in the union. They pretty much own this town. You just kind of tippy-toe around situations and you just run around being very quiet. I've had the cartel in my warehouse. He wanted to come in my warehouse and buy everything I had in the warehouse. I said, it's not for sale. Well, do you know who I am? I said, I don't really care who you are. I said, this stuff is to go to people that are in need. You are not in need. God is still here. The need is still here. And we have a responsibility to do God's will. I think everybody around here knows when to keep their mouth shut. Because we're on the front lines. I mean, there's the road, there's a little piece of land, and the Rio Grande. We're a quarter mile from Mexico, if not less. So, I don't know. I'd like to say abracadabra, it's all better. But I don't think there's no abracadabra, so we just trust the Lord. And I don't know when he's coming again, but more than likely it's going to be pretty soon the way things are cooking up.
And some of those houses seem to be abandoned. Is that correct?
They're really not abandoned.
They're not?
A lot of them are used for storehouses for the night.
Oh.
Yes.
So in those houses we saw that if we were here at night, you will see people being stored in there. Have you seen that happen?
I've seen that, yeah. The problem is they come across the border, they're soaking wet from their waist down, and they need to change clothes. So they take their wet clothes off and lay them around in the house, and the next person that comes through the water changes clothes. The cartel is their slave master. Human trafficking, slave labor, organ donating. It's not a pleasant situation, it's nasty. For us, we used to go to Mexico all the time. We got precious friends over in Mexico. They don't want to come across because they don't know what the cartel's going to do with them. So we communicate a little bit on Facebook, but we keep it light because our world is not what it should be. I have a lady friend of mine just down the street here that's had people in her house that told her if she didn't cooperate, they were going to get rid of her. And the lady's in her 70s. How do you put this? If you could somehow tell the powers that be, we don't like to live like this. We hate it. We want our country back. We want the freedom to go see our friends in Mexico, the freedom for our friends to come and see us. We feel like slaves to this mess too, because our world has been changed that much. But we know our Father in heaven says this is for such a time as this.
So what's your relationship with the Border Patrol?
If they want to come in and want a cup of coffee, come on in, I'll make coffee. If you need a sandwich, we'll make one of them too. There are some dirty ones, but there's dirty things in everything. As we found out with our political powers, there's kind of some dirty in there. There's times when people force you and make you want to run. But God says, stay. You should be still and know that I'm God. I've got this under control. And there ain't nothing more powerful than that.
My name is Manuel, M-A-N-U-E-L, Mello, M-E-L-L-O, and I'm the fire chief for the city of Eagle Pass. I've been with the Eagle Pass Fire Department since 1992. You know, normally it's basically like any other city. The only difference from other fire departments is that we're on a border city. So, different cultures coming in and out of Eagle Pass. We do have to go out to the river and rescue non-U.S. citizens. We do that very frequently lately. When I first started, maybe we'd go out to the river 6 times in a year. Sometimes we're doing 6 times a day going out to the river. Either for medical reasons or for body recoveries. The increases started about 2 years ago, and that's when, I would say just right after the Biden administration started, that's when we started to see a little bit more increase. It was during COVID, so we were having a very hard time with migrants coming in and having to deal with COVID. There were days where we were doing almost 80 calls in a day. That was doing the migrants, transporting migrants, EMS calls, and also doing the COVID part. So the migrant increase actually started about 2020. So we go out there. We either pick them out of the water, or we go out to the banks of the river. Border Patrol or DPS has them there. We treat the patient and we transport them to the hospital, just like any other patient. Really, there's no such thing for us if you're a citizen or not a citizen. As long as you're in the United States, the Eagle Pass Fire Department is going to treat you. If you're in our reach, you're our responsibility. We're going to take care of you. The Eagle Pass Fire Department normally would make about between 15 and 20 calls a day, and that's 3 stations. So we would divide the calls within those 3 stations. There was a point where we were doing up to 40 calls. There were times there were 50 calls, and they were all migrant related. Maybe about 25% were local calls, the rest were all migrant related. In about maybe 6 to 8 months, we went through almost $400,000 in overtime, just overtime alone. So yes, it accumulates. Since late December, it really slowed down. We still go out there, but it slowed down significantly. We'll probably go out to the river maybe once a day, sometimes maybe 2 or 3 times a week. So it really slowed down. We were going out to the river almost every single day to recover a body. There were times where we would recover 3-4 bodies in one day. Right now, we're probably recovering a body or 2 in a month. So it really slowed down. We've got a big presence of law enforcement. They have been very vocal, and they have closed off a lot of our river area. That doesn't mean migration stopped. It kind of moved it to other areas. I hear that Arizona and California are getting most of the bulk of the migrants, but Texas is being spared from that right now. So we have a very good relationship with the National Guard, with DPS, and with Border Patrol. Are there any kinks in between? Well, yes, we're agencies, and I guess egos kind of soar a little bit once in a while, but we work very well with them. With 24-hour border protection, if you live in a border city like we do, that really makes us feel safe. A lot of things that you hear in the media right now, or would hear before, they were lacking a lot of information. What kind of people are crossing? If you see a family crossing over, little kids, mom and dad, they're not as intimidating. But when you see 2,000 men between the ages of 18 and 40 years old, military age guys, crossing over all at one time from different nations, not just Mexico, but all over the world, it kind of makes you wonder what's happening, and it kind of makes you wonder, where are they all headed to, and what is the purpose? I don't think that anybody wakes up one day and says, I'm going to Eagle Pass, Texas, and cross into the United States. Somebody has to be behind all that, because these are different nations. I mean, not everybody thinks the same. And why are they all crossing through the southern Mexican border? So maybe there's in my personal opinion, maybe there's a group that's helping them cross through here. It could be the cartels. It could be terrorist groups. We don't know. But it puts that big question mark right there. Why are they all coming in here? When you look at, like I said, when you look at families coming in, there's not a big problem. But when you look at a dad with a little girl, 10 years old, and that little girl is scared, it makes you wonder, is he the real dad? Those are the things that we saw. Countless stories from Border Patrol, from other people that work in the detention facilities, where they actually found that children were not related to some of those people coming over. So there is human trafficking. How many of those died before they even reached this area right now?
Please help the children. Those children didn't ask for what's happening to them. And the little kid's been raped and molested all the way up from whatever country they came from. And we're not counting little girls, it's boys and girls. We're not fussy. And some of these kids will never, never, never be right. They may never go potty the right way. There's parts of their body that's mutilated. And I got a friend of mine on the street that's had 5 of them dropped off at their place, right on the outside of the river. The littlest one didn't have stitched clothes on. And they'd spent the whole night on the river. Now we got alligators in that river. We got snakes down there. And it's a miracle those little babies survived. Because the slavery goes on. And those little children are counting on you.
This river is very treacherous and it's very deceiving. You can cross in just right here by the golf course. You can cross and the water won't go up your waist. No problem. But there's areas where you're crossing and you have a drop about 15, 20 feet. And a lot of these people, they don't know how to swim. So as they're crossing over and they've got their babies with them and they go down 10, 15, 20 feet, the survival skills, they let go of the babies. I heard this one story one time, and this was late at night. They called us over, we were doing a rescue. We rescued several people out of the river. The lady said that the coyote had told her that she had the baby, not to worry, just keep on crossing, I've got the baby. He never did have the baby. That baby was found 2 or 3 days later down the river. He returned back, never came back. So the lady thought that that smuggler had taken the baby back to Mexico, which wasn't true. That baby was found downriver. That's the kind of people they are. And it happens frequently. And that's what they do. They tell you to keep on moving, keep on moving. They lose 1 or 2, not a big deal. I mean, we've got hundreds of people crossing at one time. So, you know, it kind of makes you sad. It kind of makes you mad. And that's another thing. You go through different emotions. You know, sometimes you get real mad. Why are they doing this? Why are they crossing? Why are they risking their lives? They're having to risk my guys' lives. But then you see the families, and then you see the babies, then you see the mom with the baby, carrying the baby, and, you know, crying and praying that they made it all the way down to the United States. You know, it makes you feel sad. It makes you wonder what kind of life they lived. Sometimes you laugh, because sometimes it gets funny. There was one time, and I'm going to be a little explicit here, but we were out there in the banks of the river. Hundreds of people had crossed, and it's a group of guys. We're all having a conversation, and I turned to the one side, and lo and behold, there's this lady, and she's stripping her wet clothing off, not hiding, but stripping her wet clothing off and putting her dry clothes on. And I turned around, and I'm going like this. I turned around and look at the guys, and everybody's going like this. It was a surprise to see that, you know. And then we started laughing. Man, I'm glad the cameras weren't there when this happened. It would have been a funny moment, you know, getting caught doing that. Not to mention my wife, but but those are the things that you see, you know. It's something else.
And as you can see, there's like multiple barriers. They've built several fences this direction, and the fences continue, but migrants will they'll cross and they'll walk all the way to where the fence ends right here, or they will open the gates to a fence, and they'll walk up. You can see Border Patrol parked down there. They have a tent. So they'll first turn themselves in, Border Patrol will direct them to walk up here. And so usually in the morning, people will, because they cross like late at night or early in the morning, migrants usually. And so if you come out here like around sunrise, you know, most days there's gonna be a group of people waiting here, and then a bus will pull up and they take their shoelaces, you know, personal items, backpacks, and then they'll get on a bus and be taken to a processing center. So that's why, because they have to like leave everything, that's why when you come to these spots, you can see, you know, this is actually like a really small pile. Usually it is like, this whole thing will be covered with, you know, backpacks, clothing, shoes, etc. But yeah, so people will just be kind of walking up this way when it's really busy down here. It's just like kind of a constant stream.
The smugglers, the coyotes, they're the ones that cross the migrants, and they're not afraid. I can tell you, they're not afraid. They'll bright of day, they're crossing 500-600 people, and they'll come to a certain point in the river, and they know that they're not going to get caught, and they go back. But you know who they are. Just a couple of days ago, there was a struggle with the Border Patrol, and an immigrant got shot. You don't know if he's a smuggler or not, but they're out there. They're out there. Body recoveries. Last year, 46. From those 46, 17 were children between the ages of 2 months to 15 years old. Year before that, I'd like to give you a number, but I can't remember how much it was. But the majority of the drownings are children or young adults. There's one particular situation that I'll never forget. This young man, he's been here for quite a few years, and he's one of the lead I guess rescuers, swiftwater rescuers, that's been out there the most. One morning, and I have a habit of going outside drinking coffee every morning and sitting down with the guys. One morning, as I was walking over there, he came up to me and he says, "You know, Chief, I'm tired. I'm tired of seeing dead bodies. I don't want to go anymore." And that surprised me, because he's one to never give up. He's one to never complain. And it kind of clicked on me, you know, if he's having an issue with this, what about the other guys? What about the newer guys that are going out there? And we actually started doing our research and working on grants so we could get them the help they need, because PTSD is a real thing. And I noticed that on him, and then I kind of focused on the rest of the guys, and yes, we need to get them to debrief and go back to normal. I've always been a little crazy, especially for sticking around this long. It's affected me. It's affected me because of what I've seen, but mostly because of my guys. Like I mentioned before, we went through COVID, and Eagle Pass had a very high number per capita during the COVID time. It was a hot spot, and aside from that, we were getting people from Mexico legally coming in. Then not too long after, we start getting the migrant crisis. My department's I call it a new department, not because it formed recently. It's been here for many years, But my guys are very young guys. I've got people between the ages of 20 to 40 years old. And they all can relate with children. They all can relate with family members, you know. So when I see their grief, that hurts me. When I would hear the trucks coming in and out every hour, as soon as they would get back, they'd sit down, start eating lunch, and they had to go back. That kind of hurts you. As a chief, it kind of hurts you. I guess when I went through the paramedic course, I think that was a turning point. That was when I really knew that I wanted to help. That's when I really knew that it was my community. I can remember a certain call back then where it was late at night, very, very cold day. And, you know, I thought to myself, there's nobody giving us orders. We're doing this job without anybody giving us orders. Yet, we've got everything that we need, and we're transporting. It was a major accident. We transported like 7 people. There were some fatalities in between there. But at that point, I said, I'm doing something good for the community. And I felt good about that. So, many, many years ago. Throughout the years, I learned to deal with that on my own. I think the best way that I can cope with that is having conversations with people that I can actually be myself with. That's helped me out a lot. Do I hold a lot of things back? Yes, I do. Would I probably need a psychologist or a psychiatrist? Probably do. But I think that right now, my guys are priority. I'm on my way out, and they've got a long road ahead of them. So I think it's better for me to step aside and let them get the help they need, and I'll deal with my issues later on.
Thank you.